Hi everyone, Movethany Ontano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the brand new BTS album, Love Yourself, Tear. This is the latest full-length album from the K-pop phenom known as BTS, the Bulletproof Boy Scouts themselves. It's their sixth full-length studio album, with each new release growing their profile over here in the States and beyond. One of their biggest releases so far being their EP mini-album that dropped at some point last year, Love Yourself, Her, which featured smash hits on it such as Mic Drop. A track I liked quite a bit, it's a pop-rap banger of sorts, as many BTS tracks are. The thing is, it's kind of hard to stylistically pigeonhole the group even though they are umbrella termed as K-pop, because once you go into a BTS album you can expect not only to hear hip-hop elements and electronic music elements, but pop of many different shades. Something that unquestionably makes the group stand out but simultaneously kills the consistency factor of their previous releases. But Love Yourself is a little different in that it's kind of a conceptual release, as was its predecessor, Love Yourself, Her. I wouldn't say this album is as much a sequel as it is a mirror image of sorts, with Love Yourself, Her featuring much brighter and lovesick tunes, whereas Tear over here sees the group exploring more moody and heartbroken territory for like 11 tracks and 40 or so minutes. And the record actually has a pretty decent start with the song Singularity. It's a super sensual introduction and sounds very much like a slow, emotional 90s R&B throwback, with super minimal percussion, bass, and piano, very minimal. However, each of these bits of instrumentation make incredibly tasteful embellishments once you hit certain points in the song, certain bits of the progression. Ba-dun, dun, dun, dun. The bass and piano essentially just feel like they're caught in this incredibly graceful dance with the vocals, which I might add are very well performed. At this point, I should point out that South Korea has a very long-standing tradition of making very sad and forlorn and dramatic and passionate soul and R&B music. And even though BTS are categorized strictly as a K-pop group, this song and a few others on this record as well feel like a very conscious nod to that tradition. The song Fake Love, the biggest hit on this album, feels like an ultra poppy rap blend with a potently emotional edge. The lyrics on this thing feel a lot like they're just kind of about being untrue about a relationship that you're in, pretending to be happy even though you're sad in the relationship, pretending to be strong even though you're hurt in the relationship, I guess just falsifying your emotions in the relationship. It's slightly obnoxious and kind of glitzy and feels a little bit like a bastardization of all the stylistic parties involved, but the song is still delivered with a lot of heart, and I can't deny how enjoyably slick the production on this thing is, nor how meticulously the song has been assembled. Fake love, fake love. Truth be told, pop comes down to a lot of formulas, and if that is in fact the case, BTS has really kind of perfected what they're doing here. The song The Truth Untold feels like another nod to the world of South Korean soul and R&B. It's a very slow, very spacey, powerful piano ballad, an emotional showstopper where the vocals really steal the spotlight. The lyrics on this thing are pretty much the group's usual mix of Korean and English, with a lot of references to, I think, wanting the other person or wanting the relationship with this person, but not being able to give yourself to them or to the relationship. I mean, even though I'm hitting kind of a personal language barrier here with this track, and others on this record as well, the pianos and the vocals come together and just create a passion powerhouse that get me all whipped up. The following fourth track on here is a very tasteful piece of tropical jazz rap, with fun woodwinds and flavorful guitars, really crisp drums, very close, claustrophobic, sensual rapping. The group transitions really well into a soaring hook on this cut too, which is an issue that I had previous with some of BTS's work, where continually the group would deliver these hyper-aggressive verses, whether it be kind of a pop or rap blend, and then suddenly transition breakneck style into these soaring, glamorous choruses that just kind of felt disconnected from the rest of the track stylistically. But again, this track over here, by comparison, feels so much more logical and consistent. After this, though, I feel like is when the track list starts to fall apart a bit and kind of lose its own sense of identity and concept. The track Paradise, it's a decent pop song. It's kind of bland, but doesn't really feel all that strongly adhered to the mood that the record had been delivering so far. The song Love Maze feels like a bit of a return to that and is infinitely a better song. More fleshed out structure, and stylistically it kind of feels like a throwback to a piece of American 2000s dance pop, with bumping bass, tight percussion, jangly rhythm guitars, and orgasmic falsetto on the hook. A lot of quality rap flows, and the lyrics on this track essentially being about the difficult decisions and directions that one might need to find themselves choosing when in the midst of love, or the love maze. Now, if just a track ago the album was hitting a bit of turbulence, I feel like after this is when things kind of take a bit of a nosedive. The song Magic Shop is easily one of the worst on the entire record. The song features these EDM-style chords and beats rushing in underneath one of the most garish and grossly melodramatic hooks on the entire record. Magic Shop! The track Airplane 2 is a sequel to a track that landed on the recent release from member J-Hope on a solo effort, and even though it's not one of the worst songs on here, there's certainly some flavorful instrumentation on this thing. Overall, it just sounds like the group trying to capitalize on the recent Latin pop trend in a somewhat awkward way. The group continues their tropical instrumental streak on the next cut, and Pan Man, with a kooky banger beat, kind of a tedious, redundant hook. Turn it up, turn it up, turn it up! However, I do love the groove, and I kind of give the cut points for having a very unique subject matter, as this song is pretty much a reference to the Japanese picture book and anime series of the same title. Essentially a show conceived by Takashi Yanis about a superhero who doled out these Japanese sweetbreads, whose conception was rooted in the starvation that a lot of Japanese faced during the Second World War. The song So What is yet another low point on the album for me, as it just kind of features a lot of very speedy, faux macho rapping over a lot of EDM style beats, which is not really something I'm interested in hearing, whether it's an American group, whether it's a foreign group. It's really just not my style. I just find it really overblown, so formulaic it's just a turn-off. Just kind of your typical mash of EDM and pop. However, Love Yourself Tear does end pretty strong with the outro on this thing, which is a kind of emo trap banger. Yes, this thing has a hard, crispy trap beat with strings on strings on strings, and a series of fiery rap verses that simultaneously sound hard, but also like each member of the group is on the verge of an emotional breakdown. Especially J-Hope during his final verse of this thing, who just sounds like a total mess, and even reading into the translation, I mean, some of what he says is actually quite poetic. So even though you could argue, yeah, sure, you know, love is a pretty cliched song topic, subject matter, at least it seems like BTS is giving it their all in approaching it. Overall, even though this album wasn't a perfect record, I still pretty much liked it. It's the kind of futuristic but studied, versatile but widely appealing pop music that I wish we were making over here right now in the mainstream. Instead, we're suffering through faux nostalgia like Charlie Puth, Justin Timberlake's country phase, and Taylor Swift trying to go dark and edgy. While Love Yourself Tear does have its consistency issues, it's K-pop. It's about as commercial and as premeditated as mainstream music gets. So while it kind of sucks they didn't really stick to their intended concept, I guess I'm not all that surprised, because at the end of the day, a group like this is most likely going to focus on just trying to have a little bit of something for everybody on a record, as opposed to bogging it down in concept. However, I think this album, BTS, and their success are a big sign that Western artists need to start paying attention to. A sign that South Korea is providing real competition in the music industry. I mean, I don't know what the future holds, but for now, BTS is delivering some incredibly slick music, with tasteful instrumentation, infectious hooks, and passionate vocal performances too. Sure, a few of the instrumentals on this thing are kind of tacky and the group didn't really follow through that much with their concept, but those aren't even issues that some of BTS's Western contemporaries try to avoid. I guess the point that I'm making here is groups like BTS, these K-pop groups, are making pop music that's just as good as pop music over here, if not better. And hopefully going forward they continue to win over more listeners, hone their craft, and maybe make records like this a bit more consistently enjoyable. I'm feeling a decent 2 strong 6 on this thing. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like, please subscribe, and please don't cry. Leave a comment in the comments if you're feeling full of thoughts. Click on the link next to my head to hit up another video, or the link to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell as well. BTS, love yourself forever.